Good afternoon, traders. What a day it's been on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Some big market moves have happened today. Nothing too exciting yet. We're kind of stuck within a range right now on both the NASDAQ and also the S&P 500. But I'm just going to be doing a quick trade overview on the trades I'm watching for tomorrow, what contracts you should get into that I'm personally looking at to get into, and at what levels these contracts would be valid for, and just doing an overall price action review. If you guys appreciate this content, please like, subscribe, comment. That'll tell me to keep on making content like this. But without further ado, let's get into it. So on SPX, the big thing to watch is the close of today is 45.0843. So 45.08, that's going to be the level to watch tomorrow for a possible gap fill trade. And then on the NASDAQ, the gap fill trade I'm going to be watching for tomorrow is this 14114.53. So I would watch 14,114 for that gap fill trade. We kind of had a gap fill trade almost happen this morning on QQQ, but it was a little bit too early in the day. I didn't like it, so I didn't end up taking it. I took a different trade instead, and I'll go over that in just a second. But what I would watch on SPX is we're kind of stuck in this range between 44.60 and 45.20. So until we break out of this range, I'm not really concerned with trading it too much. Now I'll trade the lower end of this area here. I'll trade the upper portion too, as I'll show in a second, as I have marked out on SPY and QQQ. And then on the NASDAQ, what I'm watching is going to be this 14.2 level and this 1400 level. Once we break out of these levels, then I'll get a lot more aggressive in my risk on approach. But until then, I don't want to put too much risk on. So on QQQ, the gap fill price is going to be at 385.96. Now the trade I ended up taking today on QQQ was, I noticed that we came out of this demand zone I drew out yesterday, as I went over in yesterday's video. I noticed that we broke the bearish formation. We started pushing up. We crossed over the 21 EMA, so I entered in long right here. I took about 50% off of my position right here once the trade went 25% in my favor. And I was going to let the rest of the contracts ride to about 386 to 388 whenever the market showed weakness. But that contract ended up going to break even. I made about 17% on the trade. So in terms of risk to reward, not the best, but I'll take what the market can give me. So what I'm going to be watching on QQQ tomorrow is going to be to see if we can get a push up to this supply zone. I'll be looking for 383 to 385 puts. If we get a push up into this supply zone here, those puts will give you the best risk to reward opportunity. Now, for those who don't know, depending on the strike that you choose, and of course expiration date, I choose 1 DTE. But if you go too far in the money or at the money, the problem becomes that if the market moves against you, let's just say hypothetically on a in the money or at the money option, you'll be down 15% on a 30-cent move. Now let's say instead you choose an out of the money option. So let's just say we choose an out of the money by like $3. That's what I typically do. So instead of being out at taking about a 50% loss on a 30-cent move, you'll take maybe a 10 to 12% loss instead. So it helps increase your stop loss on the underlining, but also keep you in terms on a monetary value at a very good risk to reward. So what I'm going to be looking for is that 383 to 385 puts. If we break this 387.75, get a 15-minute close above that level, I'll be looking at 391 to 393 calls, and I'll add to the position as it goes more into my favor. If we start rejecting this level here, I'm going to be looking for a move back down to 384. If we come into this demand zone here, I'm going to be looking for 386 to 387 calls. If we break 383.13, I'm going to be looking for 375 and 380 puts, and I'll add to the position as the market goes in my favor until we break these white lines here at 387.75 and 383.13. I'm not really looking to go long or short and putting on more risk, just because we're kind of trading within a range. Now, there's also one other thing I want to point out, that we are starting now. It's a little sloppy. I would watch this head and shoulders pattern. Now, this could be the right shoulder here, or this could be the right shoulder. We'll just say hypothetically this is. Now, let's just say that's hypothetically the right shoulder there. I would really, it's just really hard because it's such a sloppy head and shoulders, but I'm just saying that it is possible that it could be forming out. You guys can decide whether or not you want to trade that. I thought it was going to be a head and shoulder, so I went short on this candle here. Or no, where was I? I went short earlier today on this candle here, assuming 384 break was going to be the neckline, but I was wrong. I got out of the trade for break even, so I didn't do bad on that one. But yeah, until we start breaking down these levels, this range, I'm not really looking to put on a risk-on approach at the moment. But let's get over to SPY right now. So the big thing on SPY is going to be kind of the same deal. Let me get to the other. Here we go. So with SPY, we're kind of moving into this range right here, this nice supply zone. So what I watch on the supply zone is if we start rejecting it on the 15-minute and I get a close below the 21 EMA, I'm going to be looking to put on a short position. I'm going to be looking for 447 to 448 puts. If we can break 451.38 and hold it on the 15-minute, I'm going to be looking for 454 to 455 calls. Now, we do have a supply zone right above there, so I would trim about half of my position once we hit that and let the rest of the contracts ride until I get some market weakness on the 15-minute. Now, let's just say that we end up rejecting this after hours and we end up pushing down to here. Watch that gap fill trade, of course, but I would also watch this area. Now, if we end up closing and showing reversal signs in the upper portion of this demand zone, I'm looking for ideally 448 to 452 calls. Now, if we go to the upper portion, I'm going to be looking for 452 calls. If we close near 446, I'm leaning more towards 447, 448 calls. If we break down 446.09, I'm going to be looking for 443 to 444 puts, and I'll add to my position as the market allows me to. But in order for that to happen, I need to see some significant selling pressure. So that's what I'm going to be watching on SPY, QQQ, NASDAQ, and SPX. Amazon, big level to watch on Amazon. When we flip to the daily, it's going to be, as I mentioned earlier this morning, was this 140 to 143 range. Now we're kind of still within that range. We had a decent gap fill trade today on Amazon. That's what I heard from other traders. So I don't really follow Amazon too closely other than the chart levels for QQQ. But what I really would watch is that 140 to 143 range. If we break 143, I would watch 147. If we break down 140, then I would watch. It would give more support to levels as 138. But I just don't see that happening. But we'll see what ends up happening tomorrow. NVIDIA, the big thing on NVIDIA is going to see if we can push all-time highs. Now, I will tell you this. If we push all-time highs on NVIDIA and we can get a close above 502.66, I will be going long. I'll be opening up a decent stock position, not an option position. It doesn't really fit my strategy to be trading options on NVIDIA. So I keep my option strategy to SPY and QQQ. I keep my stock positions to stocks within the S&P. And sometimes I'll go outside of the S&P, but whatever seems like it's going to go up is usually what I go with. Obviously, there's other things I consider other than thinking that it's going to go up, but that's the main thing. I mean, trading stocks is a lot easier than trading options. I'll tell you that much, and I'm sure you guys know that. So tomorrow I'd watch 485 support. It looks like that we're really starting to push that 485 level. Now let's see if we can get a push to 502.66. If we reject 502.66, watch it move back down to 485. If we reject 485 and close below it, then I would watch it move back down to 476. And then on Microsoft, let's see what we got going here. So we got a new all-time high. We're at 376.35. Now I did say tomorrow if we close above 373 that we were going to start getting a real big push up. So tomorrow I'd watch 380. That's definitely in play. So we'll just mark that out right now for you. There we go. So tomorrow I would definitely watch 380 on Amazon. On Microsoft. What am I saying? If Amazon went to 380, I think everybody would be very happy. So I'd watch a bounce off of 373 support if we end up breaking to the downside. Maybe starting to get more of a bull flag, some consolidation, maybe a wedge forming up on Microsoft sometime soon. Then a push to 380, or we might get a push to 380, say between 373 and 380 on Microsoft. And then last but not least, Apple. So the big thing on Apple is going to be see if we can hold up above 190. Now, I did say that I took all of my Apple stock out, and I did. I think we're flying a little too high to the sun. It's a little too close to the sun. So I'm all out of Apple. If it gives me a decent pullback and it shows that it has some support, I'll look to get back in at the 20 EMA or the 50 EMA. But until then, I'm not really looking to add, or actually, I'm not looking to be in Apple. As I've been saying, I have my position in McDonald's. I bought at 249. It did well today. I ended up trimming off one share. Bullish engulfment. So I'm expecting a push to 277 tomorrow. I'll sell off another share when we hit that. So I'm just slowly trimming off. I'm about 10 to 11% up on that. So about 30,000, not 30,000, I wish. I'm up about like 2,500 on McDonald's, so not a bad position at all. But that's what I'm going to be watching tomorrow, traders. And